So we understand that the City Council has been struggling to supply water to some areas for more than a decade now. Do we have an idea of what's responsible for this?
Yes, actually, in some areas, no, that they've not been able to drink water from from a water tape, for the past 18 years or so, and this is largely due to poor planning on the part of government, the part of even those that were running the local authorities, because we are still using infrastructure that is all dilapidated, over reliance on one source of water. And no sustainability plan whatsoever. Yes, economic challenges are the major reason that accounts for this, but surely for a government that is really concerned about citizens' right to access clean water and right to health, something surely by now. We cannot talk of a water crisis for more than a decade. We cannot talk of water crisis for 18 years. And the results of such mismanagement are now there for all to see, for the world to see.
So what's being done now to contain this outbreak and also prevent it from happening again?
Well, right now, through this declaration of an emergency, what that essentially means is that the state takes over. Number one, if it's the deaths, they'll take responsibility, by facilitating decent burials and so forth. They'll also then take bear the cost of those that would have been contaminated by cholera. They'll be deploying various health professionals within the affected areas for there to be rapid response and rapid treatment for those that would have been infected. In addition, they have embarked on a serious public awareness raising campaign to alert members of the public of this pandemic. And as I speak, they've been sending text messages, WhatsApp messages across the board, broadcasting messages on the mainstream media to the effect that people should be wary of the water that they drink, the sources of the water. People should practice good hygiene, practice methods, washing your hands and so forth. And they've been doing that consistently. But most of these efforts are by and large reactionary. There is need for a more sustainable and proactive manner. If you take into consideration that this is not the first time that the country has been hit by a cholera outbreak, and the time for this new administration, President Mnangagwa's administration, to really show that they can go beyond paying lip service to addressing people's concerns.
Finally, like you said, this isn't the first time that this is happening. What's the mood like in the capital? Are people angry at the government?
Yeah, well, people are sick. The number of infected people within the capital, 22,000. That's a high number by any measure. I think people are really concerned, worried as to when this pandemic will be contained. People really concerned, and there's been a clarion call to even shut down some schools within the affected areas, because, as you know, schools are highly densely populated areas, and it may spread, and the children are susceptible to these sort of diseases and so forth. So people are generally worried. They are concerned as to how government is going to contain So what we wait to see whether this declaration of emergency will indeed bring about sanity to this situation, will calm down the people, and whether schools will remain open, public spaces will remain open. You may recall that a political rally that the main opposition leader, Nelson Chamisa, wanted to hold was actually stopped because of this outbreak. So we really are keen on seeing how it's going to be contained and how basically the country is going to move forward towards a more sustainable way of dealing with this.
Yeah. Zimbabwean journalist Nigel Yamatumbu, thanks for joining us on the program. Thank you. The campaign to get youths involved in governance appears to be gaining traction across the world, including Nigeria. This comes as innovations in technology have provided citizens with opportunities to connect with one another and push for the mainstreaming of issues that affect them. However, a survey conducted by ORB Media shows that youth response to issues of participation in governance focuses more on informal activities such as protests than actual political contest.
What goes on in the mind of an average Nigerian youth? Go to school, graduate with good grades, get a job and a wife, and live happily ever after. According to a survey by Orb Media, a large percentage of young people in Nigeria under 40 years of age are not interested in politics. The survey, conducted from 2005 till 2018, shows that young Nigerians prefer the democratic system of government to other forms of government, but political discussions among these segments of the population tend to be limited to the social media. The youth tend to be more active in public protests and demonstrations, leaving active political engagement to people over 40 years of age. For these young people who do not vote, the corruption in the system negates the principle of democracy and makes them lose interest in the process. But then, is it a total disconnect from politics?
We do have young people or younger people who are getting into politics, actually vying for different levels of offices, from presidential down to House of Assembly and or some other cadres. And yes, I can say it is changing.
Nigeria isn't the only country grappling with this low youth participation in politics. In Zimbabwe, the ousting of former President Robert Mugabe provided an opportunity to the youth of the country to step into the political turf. And many of the nation's youth indeed show their desire to change the leadership of the country to a younger person and threw their weight behind Mr. Nelson Chamisa, who they considered as representing the voice of the youth.
It's important for young people to get involved because you're going to be the new generation. Apathy doesn't get anyone anywhere, because with apathy, the rigging mechanism, if it does exist, will carry on going on. So if you are apathetic, so be it. But voting is your choice. Voting is your right, it's your duty.
Although the result of the election wasn't what they expected, the chance to make their voice heard was more than enough.
For the full survey by ORB Media, you can visit the group's website at www.orbmedia.org. Still to come on the program, Ghanaians pay respect to former UN Secretary-General Kofi Annan as his body lies in state in the capital, Accra. Please stay with us.